Hello and welcome to today's bridge class. In today's class we're going to be looking at how to distance the hands and feet in order to go into your rotation to bridge as smoothly and seamlessly as possible. And we're also going to be looking at the full rotation to bridge. So you should have your distance and your full rotation technique by the end of this class. For today's class we have Tass, who is going to be helping to demonstrate the exercises. So let's get right into it. The first thing we're going to be looking at today is the distance for your forward entry into your rotation to bridge. And we're going to do this as follows. You are going to get yourself into a crouching position, so you'll have your heels off the floor and you will be balancing on the balls of your feet. Now from this position, you're going to reach forward as far as you can without giving up your center of mass. This means that you should be able to touch the floor and remove your hands off the floor without using them to push your center of mass back over your feet. Now leave the hands here, and then from this reaching position you're going to go one full hand width in front, and that's going to be generally your distance, the appropriate distance for a rotation to bridge. So you're going to lean forward and you should be in a good quadruped position here. Relatively speaking, you should have your shoulders above your wrists and your knees right below your hips. So we're going to demonstrate this one more time. On the balls of the feet, reach as far as you can without giving your center of mass. Then go one pace out. And then to come back, I want you to practice pushing yourself back in one push into your squat. Try your best as you do this to start to memorize the distance without placing the hands on the floor. And back. One more time. And back. Lovely. So that's going to be how you practice your distance. Another really important factor is how to get back from that position in the most efficient way. So Tess is going to demonstrate once again, trying to get into that position immediately. And then in order to get back, you ideally want to do this without shuffling your hands at all. So you are going to load your weight over the wrist to get a bit of momentum, and then you're going to push your weight right back. So the two important factors that we're looking at here is for you to memorize your distance so that you can swoop into it in one fell swoop, and then also to use the loading and the single push in order to come back. So generally speaking, you want to be avoiding shuffling the hands like this and then shuffling them back a million times on the floor to get yourself back to your squats. You want these two things to happen smoothly as possible and in the least amount of movements as possible. The reason you want to have your distance figured out is because if your hands end up too close to your feet, as they will be here for example, and you try and do a rotation to bridge, you're going to need an incredibly intense amount of flexibility, almost contortion level, in order to get your full rotation to bridge. So ideally you want the hands to be a little further away, and that's why you need to memorize the distance. The further your hands are from your feet, the more wide your arch can be, and therefore the more likely you are going to be to get into your bridge. If your hands and feet are super close together, you're going to need extreme level of back flexibility and anterior body flexibility to get into it. So we need to make sure that we're giving ourselves the best chance of rotating into our bridge. Okay, now we're going to apply the same principle of finding your distance, but we're going to find the distance behind us so that we can do a rearward entry into rotation to bridge. So you're going to slide your hand around and go as far as you can. And then from that furthest point, you're going to go one pace out, so one full palm distance out, lift your hips, and there you have your rotation to bridge distance. And then come back, and then push. One of the important parts on the exit is to make sure that you pivot your hand in as you exit so that you can flex the elbow and use it to push yourself back. Here's what I mean. So as you are coming out of the bridge, you should pivot your hand, as Tass is doing now, inwards. So So pivot inwards, and then you can flex the elbow and push yourself back in one movement. The other important factor is to use the free arm swooping out from your bridge, also in order to drive some momentum. Here's what that'll look like. Find your distance, enter, and then as you exit, pivot the base hand and use the free arm to exit. So next up, we're going to look at the full rotation to bridge, and we're going to use our entry in order to find our distance. There are a few things to note with the entry into the bridge. If you've been following these series, you should already know about the bending of the base arm and then pivoting on the blade of the hand. We went through this particular drill in the previous classes, so if you haven't seen those, please do go back and check them out because you will need them now. So here's what that will look like for the full rotation to bridge. Tess is going to use the front entry and she's going to demonstrate this now. So front entry, find your distance, and then you're going to cross one leg over behind the other, lift the hips, bend the base arm and pivot on the blade of the hand, and then in order to come out, just reverse, make sure you pivot so that you can push and exit your bridge in one movement. Tess is going to demonstrate once again. So slide into your distance, cross one leg behind the other, lift the hips, make sure you bend the arm and pivot on the blade of the hand here. Your fingers here should be facing each other in the full bridge, and then for your exit you're going to switch the weight over to the base arm and make sure you pivot. In order to get your exit, you must make sure to shift the weight from the entry arm into the exit arm. So we're going to show you what that looks like now. Go into your entry, go into your bridge, lift the hips, bend the arms if necessary, pivot. At this point, you must make sure that your weight goes from the base arm over to the exit arm, and that you start to push strong with this hand as you exit your rotation. Okay, we're now going to use the rearward entry into the bridge, and we're going to talk about a few final points that are super important in order to get a nice bridge shape. Those are namely to keep your feet nice and grounded, make sure that they are not too wide and that they don't turn out and have your knees collapse in, and also to make sure that you have constant tension in your glutes to keep your pelvis elevated and in a posterior tilt. Tess is going to demonstrate what that's going to look like now. So reach, one pace out, lift the hips, make sure your hips are in a posterior tilt and that there is tension in your glutes to keep your hips elevated. Ground your feet, make sure that they are not too turned out and that your knees are not caving in. And then you will do your entry into the rotation and exit, pivoting the hand, flexing the elbow and bringing yourself back to center. In this rep, we're going to demonstrate what we don't want the knees to be doing. So have a look as Tess goes in. She lifts her hips. We don't want too much of a turnout, full rotation to bridge, and we don't want the knees to be going in here like so, and exit. So make sure you keep your feet nice and grounded and you can feel the balls of the feet digging into the floor and that your feet aren't too wide apart. Okay team, that is all we have for you guys today with regards to the rotation to bridge. If you enjoyed it, do leave a comment and I will see you on the next one.